Well, it's the second day. I smoothed it down after I had quit yesterday on the end of that one, and I also decided on the transom that I lifted the cloth back up, and I redrew the center line mark on the transom panel. So when I'm going to put a seam there, instead of trying to put a piece of glass, separate glass, and then on the stern panel, and then fold over the sides and then ferret in, I'm going to, I see I can fold each of the edges around and overlap, and then I'll wet them out, and I'll cut the overlap after I trim it down some. I'll cut the overlap down on the wet out epoxy, and then trim off the top part and lift up one side and pull out the remnant of the one that's underneath, and then smooth back both surfaces back down even on the plywood again for the transom. But we'll get into that when we do it. But right now, and also when I made that decision, I went and started at the bow and smoothed in the nose piece, and then took all the excess to the end. Because I found when I was trying to pat it out earlier, I was bunching up the weave and the warp, and it was getting pretty dense, and it might have made it hard to wet out because it was so closed up. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to relieve the excess along here and trim it up to about in here. The other side is down in here, because remember when I said I laid it out, I laid it with all the excess on this side. So this side just barely hangs down into just below the top of the gunnels. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess down to about, probably ½ an inch below the top of the gunnels, and I'll come back along the line, or maybe when I start up along here, but I'm going to start at the stern right now and then work forward. We'll come back in as I'm progressing. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and do something on the stern. I mean, this is why you're watching us, is to see this kind of stuff. So like I said, I had a new, if you can see it, a new line in here, center line. And when I roll them down, I will wet this out, and then wet out the other one on top of it, and then I'll come back with a really sharp knife and cut along this line, peel back this side, and pull the one underneath, and pull the other, and then smooth them back down again. But what I want to do now is to take away some of the excess that is going to have here, and so I'm probably going to start cutting right about here. I'm going to cut my painter's paper. Okay. And make sure you don't wind up short as you come around the corner here. Okay. This will, I have plenty of material here, and then this will get trimmed down when I get ready to do the wet out. But let me go ahead and carry on around the edge here. I've set my level here, so now I'll just go ahead and continue. Let it fall so you don't wind up coming up. Keep checking that you have the right overlap. Try not to let it fall down here, pull it over the other side. So we're down to the bow now, and so I can come up over the top, start back on the other side. I'll go ahead and do that off camera, and then you can take your scrap here and square it up, which I'll do here in a few minutes. One of the things I like to do too is, after I get done, is to take my scrap and then fold it up nicely. You also notice here you got plenty when you're if you're getting materials for the hull up front, then when you get your 5 yards of glass cloth, you can maybe cut off a foot on the ends, and you'll be using those for the covering your finger joints or your scarves on the inside of the hull, and then on the outside on those tails. I would say take some of these pieces off the edge that you'll see that you have for scrap. Where do we go here? You can see we have left over here, kind of like pants kind of thing on one side. Be able to use that glass or not for when you're doing the inside of the finger joints, and then on the inside and the outside of the last part of the boat. If you're making it out of 6mm plywood, I wouldn't worry about the glass on the bottom stern, or the bottom panels at the stern. But if you're making it out of the 4mm, then I would go ahead and glass both sides, the last maybe 2 feet, just to give yourself a little bit of, to be able to flex the hull into the form that you want, that I designed, but also to keep the plywood from cracking on you when you do wire it together. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this up, and we'll come back and I'll do some more brushing on the edges. We have all of the excess pulled off, so now it's time to kind of massage down and back, especially on this bow area here, on the upper part. Down in here it fits nice and tight, but up here it wants to pucker. I may relieve this some more with my scissors, remove more of the material here, or else put a cut right there. But just start taking the material down, smoothing it down again. Let me get my gloves on. But basically that's it. You're just smoothing it down, getting it to fit. So and once I relieve this area of some excess, you can't see what I'm talking about. I'll relieve this some more to where it's I have the fit I want here, so I can take a lot of this off, especially down in here, so that I'll let this poof part down in here slide out to the ends. Okay, I'm happy with the fit, so I'm going to come up here and I have some more material here I've got to chase to the transom. In my trying to get that valve bubble out, I created some more problems. I didn't realize that when I laid it out that it was so dense in there, so that when I tried to pull it back, I got a lot of extra material coming here that I'm going to have to chase to the stern again. So, which is another reason I'm glad I'm putting the seam in the back. But it's just work it down. Try to start in like the middle and work any of the loose stuff. I was was noticing I was putting some lines in it, which I call pressure ridges, where the warp and the weave are trying to, or the warp anyway, depends which way the line's going. It bunches up on itself, and you have this line that looks kind of like, I don't know if you can see it in here or not, right in here where it's not going together correctly. So just take your time and your patience, and it'll work out in the end. I should have stretched it more when on the initial rolling out the cloth. So once I get done with this, I'll let it set for another day and then come back and brush it some more and see if I made any changes. I did add a couple clamps down here to hold the bow in tight, so it's nice and tight in here. Now I just got to chase out some of the excess. One of the things that's given me, well, not fits, it's a learning experience for me, get my head out of my face, is this is the first time I've had one of these with the glass cloth went so far up the sides. Normally it'd stop around here, so it was easier to deal with, but any learning experience for me is going to be one for you. So I've been taking some excess, pull out from the bottom and just kind of brush it to the bottom. Also, the other thing too is I've noticed is that this boat has quite a severe taper, double ends, so being flat in here is going to make it bunch up on both ends, and so I've got to be able to move this excess cloth to some direction, and I'm finding it seems to be working in the stern. And then if I come up with a little bit of poof, I find that sometimes I could take it back in the direction that I came and it'll disappear, especially up in the bow here where I pulled quite a bit of the warp and the weave away from it. And these two little clamps here kind of give me a, whatever poof I got here will be able to chase down when I wet it out. I'll start at the very top and work down. Same with this. The bottom gets done in both directions, and then it rolls over and works straight down. And you can see I'm getting some fold in here. And let's go back down here again. Like I said, you can take your brush and see if you can chase up into the bow here. It tends to be a little light. You can hide some of the excess because they got stretched up here. But feel the nose that you aren't creating another problem again. Okay, that should be enough of this. I'll let this relax for the day and then I'll come back. I don't know, maybe I'll make some sight marks along. Where's my scissors? Now that I'm pretty happy with it, I can always go along and give the excess someplace to hide. Notice I'm putting some lines in it as I was using my fingernails are coming through my glove and leaving little marks, but you can chase them back around again just by brushing in some excess from some other direction. Okay. We'll call it quits for the day.